Alright, so I just got back from the movies and I really need to discuss Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's adaptation of Mickey 7. Or at least what's left of Mickey 7 after Bong took a flamethrower to the plot. Guys, I am shocked by how much the movie changed from the book. Now, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you've either read the book, you've watched the movie, or you just love watching comparison videos. Either way, consider this your major spoiler warning. We're going deep into the differences between the book and the movie, and we're covering the good, the bad, and the downright baffling. First up, the name change. Why Mickey 17 instead of Mickey 7? According to Bong, he just thought it'd be more dramatic to kill Mickey 10 more times before the movie even started. It's a bold move, I guess, but also a perfect summary of how the film treats the source material. It's recognizable in concept, but unrecognizable in execution. And sure, the first few Mickey deaths in the movie align with the book, but then we get versions 13 through 16, who are basically lab rats used for biohazard experiments, radiation exposure, and other horrors. The book never took it quite that far. Nasha did stay with early Mickeys as they died in the lab, but she wasn't cradling him in a death tank like in the movie. Also, at no point in the book does Mickey lose a hand while repairing a starship. But it did make for a really funny scene, so I'll give them that one. Now let's talk about our protagonist. In the book, Mickey 7 and Mickey 8 are essentially the same person. They have the same memories, the same personality, and the same snark. The whole point is that they're identical copies, which is why having both alive at once is a huge problem. But in the movie, each Mickey has a slightly different personality, which means Mickey 18, the equivalent of Mickey 8 in the book, is way more aggressive, violent, and downright mean compared to his earlier iterations. And while Mickey 8 in the book mostly lays low, hiding out, and trying not to die, Mickey 18 in the movie is out here plotting assassinations. Yeah, movie Mickey actually tries to kill Marshall, Mickey 7, and Timo. It's quite the deviation. Speaking of changes, let's talk about Nasha. In the book, she's a pilot. In the movie, a security guard. A small change, but why? No clue. More importantly, in the book, she and Mickey communicate through a telepathic, instant messaging system that pops up in their retinas. That bit of sci-fi weirdness, it's completely scrapped from the film. Kai, or Kat Chen as she's called in the book, also gets a major change. In the book, she's the one who rats Mickey 7 and Mickey 8 out to Marshall and even offers to replace Mickey as the new expendable. In the movie, her role shifts significantly, and while she still plays a key part, her motivations and actions feel different. Oh, and then there's Dorothy and Yelfa, two characters who don't even exist in the book at all. I have no idea why they were added, but yeah, they're here now. The changes to Berto, known as Timo in the movie, are honestly pretty wild. In the book, Berto is a successful pogball player who Mickey lost all of his money betting against. In the movie, he and Mickey both invested in a failed macaroon business and ended up in financial ruin because of it. Yes, macaroons. Also in the movie, Timo sells undiluted oxyzofil cartridges, which are used for flamethrowers, and they don't exist in the book. And unlike in the book where Berto's suspicions about Mickey 7 come from his inability to save him from orbit, movie Timo actually leaves Mickey dead face to face, and it's a much colder move. Also, speaking of cold, Mickey 18 never tries to throw Timo in a cycler in the book. But in the movie, yeah, attempted murder. Berto was a solid character in the book. He was a rival, but not a villain. The movie makes Timo much less relevant, which is a shame, especially with Steven Yeun playing him. Marshall in the book and Marshall in the movie might as well be two completely different characters. In Mickey 7, Marshall is a competent, if ruthless leader, and he's calculating, pragmatic, and focused on maintaining order within the colony. He may not be likable, but he at least makes sense within the story's world. In Mickey 17, though, Marshall is transformed into a bumbling egomaniac, constantly followed by a camera crew as if he's starring in his own reality show. His motivations take a bizarre turn, as he becomes obsessed with creating a superior race on Niflheim, something that was never even hinted at in the book. Adding to the absurdity, movie Marshall also bans sex, enforcing a strange puritanical rule that feels a bit forced, and he goes so far as to delete Mickey's backup brick, which was only ever a threat in the book, not something he actually followed through on. And perhaps the biggest departure of all, Marshall in the book survives the events of Mickey 7, continuing to be a looming figure of authority. In Mickey 17, however, he doesn't make it to the end. He's dead. Gone. Another casualty of Bong Joon-ho's chaotic rewriting of the source material. Also, Mark Ruffalo's performance as Marshall is either going to be seen as genius or wildly distracting, depending on how much you enjoy watching him channel a mix of Donald Trump and an over-the-top stage actor desperate for attention. It's a choice, to say the least. Look, I was not expecting Mickey 17 to be this horny, and yet here we are. One of the earliest and most jarring departures from the book happens almost immediately, when Mickey and Nasha sleep together within minutes of meeting. There's no build-up, no tension, just an instant hookup that feels completely out of place. And then there's Kai, who after bandaging Mickey up, wastes no time in making it very clear that she also wants to sleep with Mickey. And if that wasn't enough, at one point the film takes things even a step further, with a threesome scene between Nasha, Mickey 17, and Mickey 18. Yes, you heard that right. Both versions of Mickey. I have no idea why Bong decided to take this movie in the direction they did, but it didn't add anything meaningful to the story. If anything, it felt like an odd creative choice that detracted from the actual sci-fi elements. And clearly, I wasn't the only one thrown off by it. Right at this threesome scene, I watched a family of 4 get up and leave the theater. Because if Mickey 7 was a comfortably PG-13, Mickey 17 is very much an R-rated film. From the moment certain plot points started unfolding, I knew the ending of Mickey 17 was going to be wildly different from the book. And wow, was it ever. In Mickey 7, Mickey becomes a liaison with the Creepers, but not through some conveniently engineered translation device. Instead, they learn how to communicate with humans after probing Mickey 6 and using his knowledge to establish a connection. The human printer, which allows for the creation of new expendables, remains intact and is never destroyed. Marshall, despite his antagonistic role, survives the story's events. And at no point does a baby creeper infiltrate the human colony, because in the book, the creepers are depicted as having a hive mind that doesn't place special value on individual life. The final act of Mickey 17 feels like it's predictable and cheesy at times, completely nonsensical. Where the book's ending was restrained and thought-provoking, the movie leans into pure spectacle. And while that might be entertaining in its own right, it doesn't feel earned the way the book's conclusion does. Instead of an ending that lingers in your mind, Mickey 17 goes for the big dramatic finish, and is one that ultimately lacks the depth and quiet brilliance of the original story. Guys, I was so excited for this movie, and I walked out just a little bit disappointed. From a technical standpoint, Mickey 17 is stunning. The cinematography is gorgeous. The set design is incredibly inventive. And the soundtrack is amazing. It's almost kind of like Secession-like. The humor mostly lands, but sometimes it undermines the emotional weight of the story. And the writing? That's where the film falls apart. The narration felt forced. The exploration of themes, especially its anti-capitalist message, barely scratches the surface. And the third act was also really disappointing. That said, Mickey 17 is still interesting enough that people will enjoy it. But as an adaptation of Mickey 7, is barely recognizable. But what do you think? How does the movie compare to the book for you? Did you enjoy the changes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because every subscriber inches me one step closer to taking over the Galaxies. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and I will see you in the next one.